Okay, I'd like to call the Economic Development Commission's regular meeting to order. It is Thursday, August 20th, 2020, and it's 7:30 p.m. and roll call.
Ted Chavinsky.
Jack Traver.
Yep.
George LeCapra Jr.
Okay,
Steve Miskey and
Teddy, Jack.
that's it. Okay.
Okay. Any public participation, Mike?
Zero attendees, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, looks like we have no public participation. And I'd like to again thank Mike Simmons for guiding us through this again this month. And so without Mike, we'd be struggling. He makes us look smart. So, all right. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes for the June 18th meeting?
Yep. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 18th meeting.
I'll second that.
Who second?
I did.
Ed,
Betty, okay.
call your name.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, correspondence?
No
No
correspondence.
correspondence. Okay, your Economic Development Commission's report.
Did everybody get a copy of the report sent by email?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll run through it quickly. Number one, the good news is the Sealy property has been cleared by DEP, and they're in the process of putting it on the market.
Oh, nice.
So that's number one. That's some good news, I think. We'll wait and see who buys it, but it's good news that it's at least on the market. Number two, worked with Chairman McGrail and the staff at CERC to analyze and suggest revisions to the draft report concerning the possible use. I sent everybody a copy of the report. It's extremely lengthy. So I don't know, did everybody have a chance to at least glance at the executive summary?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Well, get a chance, it's an interesting report, that tells us what we can do, what we can't do with the property. The full report gives a lot of demographics. So I think it's going to be a useful tool for Sealy to help market that property to the right developer. And so hopefully we get the right development for that site.
Now, for those of you who don't have a copy of my report, it said, we suggested that the final draft be broken into two separate reports. The first report will be an expanded executive summary with a few tables and graphs. The target audience for the first report will be the town council and other groups who are mostly concerned with the recommendations for the property. The second report, which is the much more detailed one, which you have, will have all the demographic details and information included. The target audience for that will be Sealy Company, and the potential buyers of the property might want to see all of that information.
And there's a revised copy that's out now that will include comments from Sealy themselves. We did share the report, the draft report with Sealy to get their feedback. And there was a few corrections that they made or clarifications they made, specifically talking about the availability of the property and probably URLs that are attached to that site. I think it was good input, and we were able to make a few corrections or at least expand on a few subjects, lines that we had in the report. So.
Yeah, they're very. They said the timing was absolutely perfect for them because they've chosen a very well-known national firm to market the property, and they told us they will use this report as part of the marketing materials when they try to sell the property, so. The third item on my report is I'll recommend payment of the second installment. Our installment was $5,000 upfront, $5,000 for the draft, which we've received, and then the final $5,000 when we're satisfied with the final report. They indicated they thought the final report would be in our hands by the end of the month, which is basically next week.
Yep.
So we're waiting for that. If they do what we ask them to, it will be 2 separate reports, one sort of summarizing briefly, and then the other one very detailed. Moving on the report, a company called JRD Properties bought the Muscatine property, and they bought the whole property, and they intend to build a 14,800 square foot industrial building with outside storage there. As you know, 14,800 square feet on 55 acres is not clearly not going to use the whole property. So our assumption is there'll be future, there's one landlord, one person who bought the whole property for $950,000. And this is the first piece they propose to put on there. We're assuming they will do more.
That we just don't know, but we know about that, we'll call it 15,000 square foot building. And it appears that until we get official word, it looks like they bought a business in town and they're gonna move that business from this present location to that site on Park Road. But there's some guesswork there, but that's sort of what the rumor mill's been humming with lately, so.
So Jack, I think you can breathe a little easily now, knowing that the whole property has been sold and it's going to be used for the permitted uses, so.
So the Grillo thing got shot down, and you're saying that this company, JRD Properties, bought the property
Yes.
just in the last couple of months?
Hey, Robbie.
Hey, Rob?
Hi, sorry about that. Hey, Rob.
Yeah, so George, this actually, JRD is John Dufour.
Yeah,
He's the one that bought the property.
okay.
And I don't want to speculate, but we hear some things about, what's going to happen, and they're all positive, frankly.
He's the one that owns the bus company, right?
Yeah,
But,
Yes.
so,
I think it's the same one.
Say that again?
John DeFore, I think it's the same company that owns the bus company and the driving schools.
Well, his son owns the driving school, Brandon, right?
Yeah.
So John is the buses, so yeah, so I'm wondering what's going on there then. Okay, he wants to put up a small little building for now, okay. I got it.
Our understanding is from the scuttlebutt, it will have nothing to do with buses or driving school. It's a whole other use, an industrial use. So,
And Joe made a comment about he owns another business in town, he's gonna move here?
that's what they're saying, that's what I heard today, but until I officially know, I'm not gonna say that publicly, but there's supposed to be a business in town that's gonna be relocated to that site.
Got it.
well, my reply to your speculation about whether that makes me happy or not, it sounds like it's going in the right direction.
yeah, it does sound that way right now. So.
Well, I mean, Joe and I talked about this, and again, without putting a pencil to paper, I would say that the building they put up, it would be worth far more than what the previous proposal would have brought to the town for taxes.
And
Okay,
if
Yeah,
you-
well, right. That, of course, that just about anything would have, but
Well,
it sounds good.
yeah.
And that puts the rest, one of the P and Z commissioners' comments for Grillo was, well, anything's better than nothing. Well, now we have something that is better than nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the rest of the property is still available to be developed for other things. So it's all good news, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, there will be a public hearing because there's a special permit they're going to be looking for sometime in September. I think it was September 5th.
September 5.
But yeah, so, but we'll learn more as time goes on here, because last night was the first time they appeared before P&Z.
Unless there are other comments, moving on my report. Item 5 there, Sal Sola, who owns Sola Island over on Seymour Road, had called John Gavalis to complain that people from the park were, his property on the back borders Veterans Park. And he was concerned that people were using his back parking lot to party in, assuming it was part of the park property. So in the packet I sent you was a picture of some very large metal signs that Lisa Carew was nice enough to pay for and have erected that says you are now leaving town property. Everything beyond this point is private property, do not trespass. So I hope that satisfies Mr. Sola. While I had him on the line, I was talking to him about his business. And like all, manufacturing was never shut down under this COVID. So they were still trying to manufacture, but he had shut down himself for several weeks for lack of business. But I think he's starting to come back and bring some of his employees back. So it's basically good news. I also drive through the parking lots in the business park on a daily basis just to see how many cars are there, which tells me what's going on inside the plants. And Global Steering has gone from like 10 cars to 50 and 60 every day. So clearly Global Steering's business is picking up. So that's good news. The only one that still concerns me, has always concerned me, is the engineering centerings over on Commercial Street, Sandy Alva's old business. There's still only maybe 10 cars in the parking lot there every day. So, and they're pretty good. The reason I do that is they're pretty good sized taxpayers. And we'd like to get some first indication if business is really off, will it affect our taxes or not? So, the other items on my report are pretty much what you would probably know, and that is restaurants are still struggling. And they're still greatly concerned about the winter coming on. And right now, Connecticut is still in phase 2 or 3. Phase 2. Connecticut is still in phase 2, which only allows 50% of inside capacity for restaurants. And obviously the very smallest ones have been relying on their outdoor capacity to make ends meet when the weather gets bad and they have to move inside. Well, the state is either going to allow up to 75% or stay at 50, and the restaurants, if you've got a restaurant that's got 10 tables, they can't really make it on 5. So we'll see. I hope things get better and change. The state average is below 1%. So we're still maintaining a pretty good indication that we're keeping our rate low, our sex rate low, and that may move us into phase 3, which would allow a few more capacity in retail stores, because the 50% applies to retail stores as well. So I was over at UPS the other day just to return a package, and they're only open for 2 hours a day. And I was number 10 in line just to return a package. So it really is crimping the style of companies to operate.
Is there a date for stage 3? I haven't heard, I might have just missed it, but is there a date set for stage 3?
I think that when I read the paper, he was looking at sometime in September. I think it was around Labor Day. But now with all these little flare-ups, and maybe it's not statewide, but what's going on a little bit here at UConn and some of the other colleges around, I don't know if they're going to move forward with that or not. So let's see. It'll be strictly guesswork on our part at this point to try to see if we're going to move to the next phase or not. But even so, even if they move to phase 3, which I think was 75%, I think a lot of restaurants are still going to struggle with that. I mean, I don't profess to know anything about a restaurant, but just watching TV and listening to some of these restaurateurs, talk on some of the news channels, all their profit is really in the last 25% that they fill the restaurant with.
It's
The
so
first
much on
70
margins.
What's that?
Yeah, they make their money, their margins are very small. I know that. I don't know too much about it, but I do know that it's very tight. So, 75, I remember when this first started, they were telling them, what's the point of opening up at 50%? Some people were saying because they couldn't make any money at that. So,
Yeah.
And summer is usually when they make the bulk of their profits.
right, the good weather, everyone's.
I hear a couple of them are doing as well as can be expected with the takeout. I know Uncommon Grill and Nona Lucia's. I just know that from friends of mine who order there a lot. And I drive by Uncommon Grill and there's always a lot of cars in the parking lot. So some of them are doing. I think Roma is probably doing okay.
Right.
Moving on with the report, John Cavallis and I and the town assessor met with a company called Verogy. They're proposing, and it's on our agenda for later too, they're proposing a solar farm at the Mount Olivet Cemetery on Platte Road. And there's no objection to it really, except that that industry has applied to the solar farm industry has applied to the state of Connecticut to be exempt from personal property tax. And they tried to tell us they were already exempt. And they were trying to talk about a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes of say $10,000 a year. And our assessor, who is on a series of statewide committees and is well known throughout the state, realizes that they have not been approved for an exempt status. So that they will owe us the property, personal property and the real property taxes, which are going to be one hell of a lot more than $10,000. They proposed to pay us $10,000 a year over 20 years without paying any attention to increased mill rate or increased taxes. And we said we would not accept that. And so far, they don't have a leg to stand on unless all of you who know the state legislators can lobby them to not allow them to make them exempt. Because there's a lot of power, there's a lot of them proposed in the state. And it's a mortal moneymaker for the solar company. And it would be peanuts to the town, so.
Are they saying that there's not a difference in taxes because it's a Catholic church-owned property?
No, they knew they would have to pay taxes because it's a profit-making business. Their issue was, could they just pay a flat tax? Sort of like Taft does. Taft gives us $100,000 a year in lieu of taxes. But they can lower that, they can adjust it as much as they want to. It's a gift. And they were maintaining that there's a town called Burlington, which has sued them because Burlington was a small town. They put a solar farm up there. They, in essence, misrepresented that they were exempt. So they said, hey, instead of paying you nothing because we're exempt, we'll pay you $10,000 a year. And Burlington agreed to that and signed a contract. And then they discovered that they were not tax exempt. And now they're suing the solar farm to get the true taxes. So we went to school on them. Our assessor went to school on them to make sure we're going to get, it's a for-profit making business, and we should be taxed on it, so. It's 16, they bought 16 acres, but they found only about 5 was usable because of wetlands and some other things. So.
Where's their office down? Their office down in Thomaston?
You know, I'm not sure where their office is. It's two young guys. It's not in town. It's two young guys that own the entire business, and they may be operating out of their houses. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they made the deal with the Catholic cemeteries. So our whole concern was it's on the if you know the cemetery at all, and I hope none of us are personally familiar with it yet, but it slopes off in the back.
Yeah.
And that's where the solar, you won't see it from the cemetery and you won't see it from Platte Road. So.
Did they sell the property to them, or are they leasing the property from the cemetery?
I don't think we ever asked. I don't know.
Could
I
be.
don't know whether they're leasing it or not.
Yeah.
Next item on my report, the work continues on the renovation of the former Kmart building. We can talk some more about that on the agenda item. And that's basically my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under old and unfinished business, Joe just alluded to Kmart. If you go by there, there's a lot of activity. They're starting to build that sidewalk that they mentioned that runs parallel with the building, and a set of stairs that will go down to the lower parking lot. I think they've identified 2 or 3 businesses that will move in there, not by name, but I think by what their business plan is. And one was a gym, one is a hardware store, and one is the Dollar Tree. I think the Dollar Tree is actually mentioned. But I think there's still room there for another couple.
What was the third one?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So there's a couple more spots still in the building, but I think this moves along. If we held our feet to the fire and wouldn't allow them to divvy that building up, I think we would be looking at that Kmart building for many years to come. I mean, just the state of retail the way it is right now, and also the fact that that building falls in between 2 markets. It's not big enough for a big box, but so it's too small for that purpose, and it's too big for a smaller standalone business. So I think the only alternative was to divvy up the business, the building, the way they're doing it now. We could talk about what we like and we don't like about it, but the fact is it's going to be back on the tax rolls, and it's going to have a number of businesses in there and create some more jobs, hopefully for some of the younger people in town too.
Yeah, we did talk with the Bartons who own the property. And just to recap, going back several months, we talked to Kohl's, and Kohl's said, no, they don't do small stores in our town, and they didn't want to. Ocean State wanted to take the whole building, but they wouldn't have paid enough to even cover the taxes on the building. So that's when they went to this plan to subdivide it into 3 large stores and 3,000 foot, about 1,000 foot each stores. So there'll be a total of 6 in there, 3 that we've mentioned, and then 3 that I don't know what they're going to be, but they're going to be just storefront 1,000 foot buildings. There will be 6 entrances in the front. Each store will have a separate entrance in the front.
No, just for clarity, a lot of other businesses were contacted. Target was contacted, Walmart was contacted, TJX Corp was contacted, and Kohl's was contacted. So there's a number of businesses that were reached out to, and for various reasons, whether it be Target said that the Waterbury store is only a couple of miles away. They weren't interested in putting another store. TJX has Marshalls in Watertown. So if they decided to move to that location, we would have gained nothing because they would have shut down one store to open someplace else. Some of the other things just didn't fit their business plan, maybe demographic wise. So it wasn't just one or two businesses that were contacted. There was a lot of reaching out to a lot of businesses locally. And then there's also the other side of the coin where there was some people wanted Trader Joe's, but there was some issues to try to do that because there's a non-compete with Laban's on that property. So you couldn't put another food store on that site. So, anyhow. So we're trying to do the best we can with what the building will allow us to do, move forward with, so. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Outcome is a good one, and the effort that this commission and the chairman and Joe Seacrest put in to have it all happen is a positive for the town, and I think we're lucky that it's happening.
I agree.
Thank you, Jack. And Steve Bisbee, give him a minute. Steve, you usually take a minute on the table. Jack had a compliment. Can you give him a minute? That was a very bad joke. I'm sorry.
I don't even get it. No, I do. Thank you. I guess.
Okay, again, under old and unfinished business, item B, advanced DT marketing proposal. So this goes back to the second project that we were looking to do with the state. The first one obviously was Sealy. The second one was to try to market all the available properties in Watertown. I still think that's something we should be doing. Everything in the newspaper says that people are trying to escape New York, and some of the more densely populated areas. So there may be opportunities for people to move their businesses out of New York or, in a more congested area and move to what they would consider the country. So I still think that we should be going through with that. Once the Sealy report is finished, I think we should actually reach out to the town council and try to get this other project going too.
Yeah, one of the pieces of property that we had originally talked about on Lower Echo Lake Road, I can't remember since we canceled last month what we talked about, but that one on Lower Echo Lake Road, where the old wood chip plant was going to go, is now under contract to a company called Connecticut Seal Coat. They do asphalt, and they're going to store their equipment there, and they are permitted to store used asphalt there for a short period of time until they grind it up and move it out. So there are three large parcels there. One of them is now off the market. It's under contract. So we're down to two at this point.
Well, and then plus we have Bunker Hill Avenue Extension,
Yeah.
The Paparazzo piece over there. So there are a few big pieces of property in town that we should be looking at to do something with. Fusco's and Lucas Avenues.
The Dunzay Road.
The Dunzay Road, yeah. So I think there's enough still available in town that we really get to do a marketing proposal for that. And let people know the property is there. I mean, if we don't advocate for ourselves, nobody's going to advocate for us. So.
There is also that property behind Sola Islet the
Yes.
that borders on the park, it's 26 acres or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah, by the power lines?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it would be a wise move for us to try to get all those properties together and do a marketing plan for it. Advanced CT said they would advertise those nationally. They go to trade shows. They have a lot of walk-up people looking to move into the Northeast. I think we got a good story to tell, our proximity to New York and Boston. So I think we might be in a good place at this post-COVID recovery phase that we're going to go through.
I'm curious, I talked to a couple of people that are on the building committees, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of direction of what they're going to be doing now that everything is fully in the new town hall, what they're going to be doing with the town hall annex, the town hall, the Munson House, all of those buildings. They really haven't come to any conclusion on it. They're not even on the market or anything. I wonder if that's something that we could kind of add to this.
Yeah, Joe can address that.
We put out a request for bids for real estate agents to sell the town hall and the annex. Those bids have been brought in, they haven't been opened yet, but we're in the process of selecting a real estate agent to market those two buildings. Munson House, I understand, belongs to the foundation, and that we can't do anything with it except give it back to the foundation. That's my understanding. That we never owned it and we can't sell it, so. But so the other two are actively on the market. If you want to buy an old town hall, give me a call.
We know how much the proposal is, or we haven't gotten it yet? The marketing proposal.
We just put out a request for the real estate agent. Nothing has come in yet that I know of.
I'm talking about the marketing proposal from Advanced CT.
Oh, well, that was, the original cost of that was $15,000. It was the same price as the Sealy proposal. And it would normally be a little bit higher, but they were going to use some of the demographics that they collected for Sealy property, and they could reuse some of that information on a broader marketing plan for the town. So it'll be somewhere around 15,000. We were trying to squeeze them a little bit harder. I was trying to get down to the $12,000 range if we can do it. So, but I told her to keep that project in the back of her head, her being Courtney. I don't want them to forget about that proposal or that potential project.
I just wonder, the return on, if we're only going to market 3 properties, what's the return for 15 grand? I mean, it seems like a lot for.
No, it'd be at least a half a dozen.
Okay.
I misspoke. There are only 3 in the business park, but there are other pieces of properties.
Got it.
Yeah. And if we scour a little bit, we may even find a few others. I mean, the property on the corner, right by from Crossbridge Road to the entrance ramp of Route 8. I see signs there that property's for sale.
Yeah. It's been
and I
know for a long time.
What's that?
It's been sale for a long time. You're seeing it on the corner of diagonal from John Trumbull?
No. Down at the bottom of the entrance ramp to Route 8, the bottom of 262.
Yeah. How about the diagonal from John Trumbull? Is that available space?
Yeah, Tom Hill has that, and I think at one point he had somebody interested in it, but I don't think anything's ever become of it. But that was a challenging property because there's wetlands in there, and you sort of have to carve a piece out to find a pad to build something there. There originally, a few months ago, or maybe 6 to 8 months ago, there was a proposal or some interest of putting a gas station there. But I think that's since fell apart.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, well, when we get to, yeah. Okay. All right, Steve, item C was the solar farm proposal that Joe already talked about. Item 8, under new business, we already discussed advanced ET to Sealy proposal. And I would encourage you, if you don't have a chance to read the whole thing or look at the whole thing, if you have a chance, just look at the executive summary. And that'll give you a good idea of how that, what's going to happen with that property. One thing that's going to be very apparent is that one of our goals or one of our wishes is that we could use that property for some type of housing, maybe retail on the first floor and housing above it. But as the property stands now, based on the release from DEEP, no housing will be allowed on that site because of the pollution, the remaining pollution. I guess housing could happen on that site, but they would have to do a lot more remediation than what they've done so far. So it's been basically approved for commercial and light industrial. So I guess Joe and I were trying to figure out what you can consider light industrial. I guess it would be if you have a retail store that you build frames like Dave G over by Bradshaw's. So I guess that would be considered in some circles, it would be light manufacturing.
Or if you made ice cream and sold it. That sort of thing.
I'm sure.
You just can't stay there 24 hours a day. You just can't sleep there. I guess that's the caveat.
So taking residential out of it is the big A, right?
Well, that sort of puts a dent in our dream, but it still leaves a lot of potential there. And again, if somebody wants to spend some money, they can certainly work with DEEP and find out what do they have to do to allow residential on that site.
I'm sure it's the drinking water quality, and that's typically what prevents that from happening. You know,
That's one of the things that makes us scratch our head, because it's all water and sewer, so there won't be any wells. And why you could dig to build a retail building, but you couldn't build a residential building. And we've got to start trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
That restriction, it may be vapors, I have no idea.
I mean, why-
If you're there 24 hours a day, you're gonna breathe in vapors.
the same thing with my building at Thomaston. They told me I can never have residential. I have city water in the building, but they say because of the drinking quality, the water quality standards.
Oh, really? Even though you didn't drill a well, they,
Well, I do have a well on the property, but I have city and sewer for the building.
oh,
Yeah. Is it just an antiquated law?
I have no idea, but I like I said, they told me that I would, it would take a boat, like, I think you guys are heading in the right direction because, it'd be good if I could put some, in my building, some residential studios, but, it's not zoned, so I'd have to get that. And also said that I would, it'd be very difficult because of the drinking water quality standards. And so, yeah, I get it, but it would take a lot of money to clean up the property, and that's what they're going for, and even though it might not make sense.
Yeah.
and I think Sealy is not going to wait around. They're going to take the first offer for retail, like commercial, that they can get. But they have promised to pay attention to our report, to pass it on to potential builders. And so, because in essence, what we had told them is, if they pay attention to our report, and the buyers pay attention to the report, it will be basically green light, pre-planning and zoning. If they want to do something different, then it could be tougher going for planning and zoning, so.
But we did ask Advanced ET to work with DEEP to try to get that answer on housing, a better explanation than, because right now the answer came back just maybe short of because, well, but we're hoping that Advanced ET being a quasi-government agency, and they can maybe get a little bit more from DEEP than we would get as the Economic Development Commission.
And as a sign of the times, The woman who is in charge of approving, Sheila Gleason from DEEP, can't get an answer to some of that because she's working from home and does not have access to all the files in the office.
Yeah.
So that tells you about the time we're living in.
Well, the nice thing was Sheila Gleason has control of that property since this whole pollution issue came to pass. So she's been involved since day one. So that I found that made me breathe a little bit easier, because if we found out that she was the third or fourth engineer involved in this, maybe that to get an answer to that would be a lot harder. But since she's been involved from the day one, you know, she should be able to expound on that a little bit further about why no housing.
Yeah.
You work with her, George?
What's that?
Does her name sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sheila Gleason?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
A quick question on the property, Joe, the property you mentioned over by Route 8?
Yeah.
And Route 8, do we know how many acres that is?
No, I don't. It's on the sign there. I've gone by. I just saw the for sale signs on there. I think that's Golden, I believe, right? That has it.
I don't know.
I thought I saw Golden as part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a good location maybe for a hotel. We really need another hotel in the area.
Yeah, a hotel, or at least some type of gas station or some kind of convenience store. I mean, that's one of the gripes there's always been in the industrial park or the business park, is a lack of any gas stations in the area.
But there was a time a couple of years ago when somebody proposed a gas station there, and they were all set to go, and then they realized it's an easy off of Route 8, but it's not an easy on. So if you're going north on Route 8, you can get off and get gasoline. If you wanted to go back north, you've got to go all the way down.
Yeah.
And then cross this road and up. So they mixed it as not being an easy on, easy off. This is the reason that gas station said no.
Yeah.
But it was proposed for that. Plus a convenience store and a gas station was proposed.
Okay.
I mean, the couple of hotels we have in the area are not free. And I bring customers, send them all the way to the Heritage in Southbury. And I'm sure that's the same for the industrial park when they bring it. I mean, nobody wants to go to the Hampton Inn.
And Taft.
Yeah,
And then,
I was really sad. I was thinking of the building that now there's the, is it St. Mary's or something? I can't remember, but where Pilacy is. I feel like that building would have been perfect for like a small boutique hotel, but I don't think anybody had that vision.
well, no, it had nothing to do with the vision. It was bought as an investment property, and in order for that to happen, they needed a big, a substantial tenant to move in, and so what they did was they got that Access Rehab to take that first floor where the bank was.
oh, that's the old Wells Fargo building you're talking
Yeah,
about?
what the Wells Fargo spot. So,
Yeah, if
I
you had like
understand what
3 stories.
yeah, but I understand what you're saying, Rob, but I don't think the person that bought it, I don't think would share that same vision as the town of Watertown would be. That was strictly an investment property.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get that blend of those two things together.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anybody- Just
Go
as an
ahead.
aside, just now that you're talking about gas stations, does anybody know what's going on Watertown Road, Watertown Ave? That's
Sitco?
has like 2 new gas stations, the Cumberland Farms and the other one.
Yeah.
Is
No, I know what you know, but I try to figure out what the hell Ivy is. I've looked online. I can't find anything with an Ivy convenience store, but that's what's on the pumps of one of the gas stations there.
Yeah, I
But it's
figured it.
right,
Like,
that they put two gas stations side by side.
Where are you talking? Where Mary's Diner is?
No, Watertown Avenue.
In
Down the
Waterbury.
street from the stadium,
What's
So
that?
like,
Oh,
where
yeah,
the old Cumbies is.
By Mario's Pizza.
yeah, the whole property there, where they did all the blasting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Put the small plaza in, now they're filling up the rest of the property with 2 gas stations.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I only saw one. They put another one up now?
Yeah, two, yeah. Yeah, Cumberland Farms and Ivy.
So
I mean-
Cumberland Farms moving out of that spot?
Yeah,
I would think it'd be a diesel spot because then it's different, but it doesn't look like a diesel gas station. It looks like a regular low gas station.
yeah, I don't know, I couldn't fit, I mean, they're in the size of, they're two huge gas stations. So if you look at it within a very short distance, you're gonna have those two there. You have Valero. You come up into Oakville, you've got the Shell station. You go a little bit further north, you got the Economy Tire just been converted to a gas station again. So certainly, if you live in the area, that part of Watertown, Waterbury, you're not gonna want for gasoline anytime soon. So,
When is that, do we know when that Citgo is opening?
what's that?
Do we know when that Citgo is opening?
Well, they're working right now with
This is the
stocking.
asphalt was just done the other day, so I think that's what they were waiting for, maybe. So I'm gonna say sooner than later.
Yeah. All right, yeah, no, I've driven by it. They put it up pretty quick.
Go with Economy Tire. They finally put the coat of asphalt, the final coat of asphalt on, so. Okay, under new business item B, the housing proposal for Echo Lake Road. I just put that extension down, it's just Echo Lake Road, down by Davlees in that general area. Those apartments or those condos were approved by P&Z a month or two ago. But recently I saw that property on Zillow. Evidently the developer was trying to flip the property and the property was being sold for $450,000. And the entrance to that would be on Echo Lake Road, where that used car place is, by Burton Street, just up the street from Davlees a little bit. You got the used car lot. Directly across the street, there's a white house and there's a garage. And part of the write-up of that property said that the house and the garage would be demolished to gain access to the property at the top of the hill.
Wow.
But they were asking for $450,000, so I don't know if anybody bought it or if it's still for sale, but, so at least it appears that the original guy that presented that to P&Z was not going to follow through and actually be the builder. So.
Social media.
Yeah, so last time here, social media. Robbie could attest to this. There's a lot of things on social media that go back and forth about what people want to see in the town. I tried to answer a few of those at one point, and I decided not to do that anymore. But you know, people have their own opinion, but they don't understand the other half of the story, because you can want anything you want. You can want a Trader Joe's, and you can want, but when the demographics don't meet their criteria, or as we talked about with the Kmart property, there's non-compete clauses. There's a lot of reasons why things don't move into Watertown. And it has nothing to do with economic development. We could know that the chairman of the board of company A, B, or C, they still couldn't come to Watertown because we don't meet certain criteria. And then there's been some recent talk on there about the empty stores on Main Street, I guess also in Oakville. And they're making comments about, you know, what's economic development doing for that? You know, so again, I don't comment on that, but I really don't have a good answer, because that's really up to the landlords to market that property. You know, and we can't make them market it. We can't control the rent that they're asking. We know the story of Onyx Jewelers that wanted to expand and they canceled that project because from what I was told, and I don't know if it's true, there was an issue with the electricity power in that store, and they couldn't come to terms with the owner, who was going to pay for all the electrical work that had to be done. So I think that's what stopped Onyx from moving forward with opening up that bigger store that they wanted to go. So and there's no easy answers. So if anybody approaches anybody, especially you, Robbie, and Steve, you guys are on there a lot. There's no easy answers. I mean, I know we've talked about things, maybe we give an incentive to that storefront. But then I would counter that by saying, well, then why shouldn't we give every business in town an incentive just for being here? And you can't do that because the town is working on an X amount of dollar basis. We can't start giving discounts to everybody or tax breaks to everybody just because of the store there. It sounds cold, but that's the harsh reality. So
I think you hit the problem like right on the head though, is it's stuff that we can't really control necessarily. It's the land. I mean, I've been friends now with someone who's probably tried every single spot on Main Street. And that it's the same complaint every single time. They'll always say parking, but they'll always say parking is secondary to the fact that the landlords just don't care. They don't, they won't help in any kind of way possible. They won't, not charge them while they're building out the space. They won't renovate in any way. They won't paint. They won't fix plumbing. They won't fix electrical. So, it's like that's a very special tenant that you're going to get in there who's going to be calling, every utility person to come fix it and paint their own facade and, switch out rotting wood and all that stuff. That's not a tenant's job, but that's the common complaint.
Yeah.
From where my office was at the Town Times, that building, all the way down to what is it now? Allstate or whatever.
yeah, State Farm.
Or State Farm. You have like between just all those properties, there's like 18 different owners, and it's just hard to get anything accomplished with a lot of them.
I mean, some towns, so I started doing some research months ago on this, but I really didn't talk about it at the commission meeting. But some cities and towns, what they're implementing is an empty storefront tax. So what happens is if the storefront stays empty, I think San Francisco and some of the bigger cities, they use 182 days. So if the storefront is empty for more than 182 days, there's a tax that gets assessed to the landlord for keeping that storefront empty. And somehow, some places are charging as much as $250 a square foot as a penalty. Now, we're talking about some major cities. We're not talking about Watertown. So, but you can put a dent in somebody if you charge them $10 a square foot extra on their taxes as an incentive to find somebody to take that spot. But that would be like, touching the high voltage wire in this town. I mean, the town council's not going to want to implement something like that. But that would be one way of sort of goosing people along and try to get something there to fill those spaces. Now, short of that, I don't know what the Economic Development Commission can do. I mean, we put a lot of those storefronts on Site Finder, so people know that we have those properties and it's being advertised at the state level. So, again, I wish there was a magic wand. I wish we could give some incentive to those properties that are empty. But then again, what happens when the guy next door comes banging on your door saying, hey, I want the same deal he does? Or if Stephen Company says, well, you're giving those guys incentive, we want an incentive on our place over here too. I don't know how you would craft an ordinance or some tax break that would apply only to the vacant storefronts.
The only thing I could think of is if we did anything that was specific to just to fit within our like messaging as the EDC, something that fit into very small business oriented facade loans or something that went along with the business rather than the property owner, so that it did benefit them and help them open an empty storefront. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing I can think of that we have to put it on the benefit of making it easier for small businesses to open.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that again. I mean, some years ago, there was a facade program. There was a no interest loan that was available to the business owners, the property owners, to fix up the facade of those stores. It mattered anywhere in Connecticut, and we made it known, but we didn't get one person to call and ask us a question about it, let alone apply. We didn't even get anybody to ask, what it's about.
That's why I wonder if we can tie it to the business itself rather than the actual property owner.
Yeah,
Because I just don't think that they care enough, to be honest. I really don't. I don't think, I mean, you go down Main Street and you see it's not taken care of. Everything, every building should have like a massive power washing and painting, in my opinion, almost every building. So you just see it. I mean, and there's reasons for it. Some people are having financial difficulties. They're having a hard time filling the space, so they don't have the extra cash. But if your building looks horrible, then who's going to move their small business in there? Who's going to want to walk downtown? Who's going to want to invest in the building next door and buy that building that's for sale? It's a ripple effect, I think, that we're seeing. Even the property that's on the corner now, where Hemingway was, restaurant, they're doing really good stuff. They're like, I mean, it's, piecemeal and it's really slow, but every time I drive by, I see less rotted wood. They're replacing wood on like the door frames and on the window frames and all of that stuff. I get it. That kind of stuff is expensive on historic buildings, especially, but they're at least doing something,
Yeah, I did, I sent 2 people to Edwin. I know the guy knows at Edwin. I sent 2 people his way that were interested in maybe just renting out or leasing out the kitchen. They didn't want to actually use the building itself, but, I was trying to find out if maybe there was a short-term lease or a short-term rental that he could work out with some people. There was one person who was looking for takeout food or where you could go and stop after work. Usually one in Middlebury, they would package, you could get a dinner of the night or dinner of the week, or you could buy, it came already pre-packed in styrofoams. You could just take it home to your family. It serves of 4, 5, 6. And then I also sent him someone that was interested in doing a bakery, doing some cooking. They had a storefront already, but they just didn't have the capacity. The storefront was too small, and they were looking for someplace they could do a lot of baking. But neither one of those panned out. But at least we did send him a couple of people. So at least we made an effort there. So, but we can toss some stuff around. When you were talking, I was thinking, I don't know if the town would go and say, if someone wanted to fix up some of those stores, we'll give you 50% rebate up to, I don't know, $3,000 or some number for any out-of-pocket expenses that you would incur while you were fixing the store up. But again, that was up to the town council. I could ask the question behind the door, behind the non-public, but do it behind the scenes and just ask if there's any interest. If there wasn't some interest, then maybe we could come up with a hard proposal and then send that to the town council. But at least that would address what you're talking about, is the people looking to clean the place up and get it ready for them to open the door.
Yeah, I mean, every person I know who's opened, when Hardcore Sweet opened that place next to Rock Garden, when the Thai place opened up, literally any of those spaces down there, there weren't any landlords that were willing to pay for the build out or the frontage or repainting of anything like facing the street. So maybe that would be a good incentive for small businesses, just if we were able to help them cover some costs. It wouldn't be such like a daunting task to at least make the outside look a little nice.
Yeah, and if they funded it with a certain amount of money per year, so it's not an open-ended checkbook. You know, you put in $10,000 or $15,000 a year, and whoever comes first gets it, and once it's exhausted, you have to wait for the following year to replenish it. You know, I'll talk to Joe about it and see if, and I'll talk to a few other people, see if there's any interest in doing something like that, just to sort of, you know, get things moving along here. Can't hurt to ask the question, so.
Well, it's like you said, other than that, what could you do? You know, I mean, there's really nothing else we could do as a commission. We can't force them to do anything.
Yeah, well, Rob, you might be able to answer this question since you know all these people. Are these giveaway rents? Is the rent that cheap that the landlord doesn't want to commit any further funds? Or,
So,
I mean, like a Pit Stop Deli, I have no idea what their rent was. Do you have any idea what they were paying?
I want to say, so I don't know them, but when Lisa, the owner of the Plaid Poppy,
Yeah,
when she was there, the space next door, which is the same size, I want to say it was like 900 a month or
Okay.
something, which it doesn't sound like a lot for a main street location, but it is a tiny space that doesn't have, you know, they didn't have a working toilet half the time. They didn't have electrical. She had to get her own electrician come in and do the work. And because it was such an old building, they had to tear into the ceiling. So then she had to pay to patch the ceiling. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it adds up. So I think it's cheap rent. But then if you're trying to do anything, it's impossible. I mean, the people who moved in after her, it was that consignment place,
yeah.
and they gutted it. So that space is brand new right now. I mean, they pretty much redid everything. They put all new electrical and flooring and everything, but then they left it, and now the landlord has a whole new brand new space.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. You can't take the improvements with you.
Right.
On
What's
Rob,
that? I didn't hear you, George.
I just asking, the consignment shop left now, Rob?
Yeah,
So the consignment shop left, the Pit Stop Deli left,
right.
and then, like they were saying, the Onyx Jewelers, which we're lucky, we've said it a million times, but we're lucky Onyx Jewelers even stayed in town because they were looking to move to Southbury.
Yeah.
And they decided just to stay in their location and expand into where Ragtime was. I think that's Ragtime.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, which is a huge space. You know, it's a significant size for the main street shops. And because of the landlord and because they just really didn't work with them on anything, you know, that space is going to be empty forever, you know?
Yeah.
And then even the spaces next to it now are all empty, where the wedding photographer was.
Yeah,
Dave Jones Realty in there now?
He's on the other side,
Oh,
where the Great White Way.
yeah, I see a tanning place in there now or something too.
There's like a nail salon and
haircut place,
It's in there, yeah, new barber.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
a barber place.
the barber shop, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, Joe and I are trying to toss some stuff around and see, we'll talk to a few people and see if there's anything that makes sense or anything we can come up with. It don't, like I said, if we don't ask, you know, we'll never know. So why don't we'll try to put something together. We'll get back to next meeting. We'll see if we can get some indication of how the town council would want to approach something like that, or if they would want to approach something like that.
I found it ironic that there was a psychic that opened
Yeah.
like
really?
right before everything went to hell. The psychic opened, and apparently they're not great at their job because they didn't see it coming. They're already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. I don't know. So, okay, let's see what we can do. But again, I just wanted to mention social media, everybody's sees Watertown. It's like the blind man, the elephant, right? Everybody sees Watertown in a different way. And but some of these people, some of the things I've read, they're pretty far out there as far as businesses that would likely move into Watertown, a town, 20,000 people. You're just not going to get some of those businesses moving in. And especially, one of the things, especially in the Straits Turnpike area, we're not near the highway. I mean, some of these businesses that they want to try to get into Watertown, Southbury can't get them either. I mean, I know that, I remember years ago, we talked to a guy from Southbury and they wanted Trader Joe out there really bad. And Trader Joe sent them a note back saying it didn't fit the demographic. So if you're out in Southbury with 84 running through your town and just a short distance, from where Trader Joe's, where they wanted Trader Joe's to be, and that didn't fit their need, I don't know, obviously Watertown's not gonna fit their need. So, but.
I haven't been over to the new spot where their Kmart was. It looks really great. I just was there this past weekend. Has anybody gone over there recently?
I was down there today. I mean, they're still putting that sidewalk in, they're still digging out. The stairs are in, there are precast stairs, they're in place. They haven't cut the building yet, the doors to get in, so. But, I mean, it's, I'm happy.
Yeah, it looks good.
It took that turn, otherwise, as we were talking earlier, that building could sit there for another 10 years, who the hell knows? And then, a few months from now, we're gonna have that BMW dealership that's gonna be empty. Because they're building that place over by 84, next to the mosque. So they're gonna be moving out of Watertown over the next, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So there'll be another building up there, so. And then the Subaru dealer is gonna be moving out also. They're gonna be moving out down further into Middlebury on Straits Turnpike. So there's gonna be two empty buildings on Straits Turnpike that were formerly car dealers. So, and I think we got just about every car dealer that I can think of around. So I'm not sure how those will be repurposed in the future, but if they get repurposed, hopefully it's, find something other than a car dealer. I just don't want that thing to sit there for years waiting for somebody to put another car dealer there. So. But that's all I have from my end. So I don't know if anybody has any other comments or concerns or.
Can I just take a minute to kind of survey you guys? It's possible now that the town hall is open to have meetings in this room, socially distanced, because there's like 6, 7, 8 of us, maybe 9, but usually 8 of us. We could have meetings here. We'd have to socially distance and wear masks. And of course, the unknown quantity is public participation.
But we have enough space here too for that.
So, I mean, or we can continue doing what we're doing. It's makes no difference to me. I just thought I would ask your feelings about what I don't think we can, well, maybe we can do it the next meeting.
Yeah. Well, would you be comfortable coming inside into the building? Everybody?
Yeah, I want to check out the new digs, man. I'm jealous. You guys are looking really relaxed in that room.
Yeah, too much room in there.
Robbie, you be willing to come in?
I'm good with coming there. I'm fine.
I'm good.
I want to know why, with this new building, that the two Joes, at least from my perspective, look like they're down in Thomaston somewhere. Why can't you guys face up to the fact that you got a camera and we're talking to you, and all it looks to me like one guy's got black shirt on and green pants, and the other one's invisible. So could you sit close to the camera? Other than that, it's fine.
But would you feel comfortable coming in, Jack?
I would, I think I mentioned in the beginning, it's kind of a decision time. I've been self-quarantined for 155 days,
Yes?
and I don't
Okay.
go anywhere.
Yeah.
And if I do, I'm extremely cautious.
Yeah.
Because of my vintage age and other physical complexities, I'm in that group that is vulnerable. That's a
Okay.
scary thing. So I
So am I.
would rely on, I wouldn't want to vote one way or the other.
Okay. Well, why don't we see what September brings?
It's conceivable that, Jack, if you wanted to join by telephone, that's conceivable, have everybody else in the room, and, because there's a telephone conferencing here, it's not Zoom, it's just a regular phone line. So that we could.
I don't want anybody to go out of their way for me.
No,
So
okay, no, no.
whatever you guys decide, I will abide by that.
Okay, all right. Teddy, what do you think?
I'm good to come there.
Okay. All right, so let's see what September brings. Let's see what happens in the middle of September, before I, when I put together the agenda. If things look good, then maybe we can come here and then we can get Jack to come in, call in by phone. And if it's a little bit sketchy, we'll just continue to do this.
Sounds like a plan.
I always bring Jack Ivex suit. I have plenty of them at the shop.
I'm well prepared with
Okay.
all the things to be socially acceptable and still stay healthy. So now if you are inviting me down to your shop, the new one in the back, to have like free beer or something and then have the meeting, then that's a whole new thing.
Then Jack moves to modified quarantine rules.
Right.
Good idea.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, adjourn.
All right.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Good night. Good chatting with you.
Okay, George. Steve, you second that, right, Steve?
Second, yes.
Okay, all right, guys, thanks a lot. Have a good
All
week. Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We're done.
Okay.